What's up, gamers? I'm back, and today I wanted to kind of take like a deeper dive into the matchmaking this season because it is, I'm gonna just say it, the worst the game has ever seen. Okay, but I think that's a good thing. I know it sounds very, let's see, contradictory, but I think it's actually a good thing for the game in the long run, you know, assuming that it's gonna get fixed. Okay, so I mean, obviously we've had all these creators, Spraggles, Chris, literally anybody who's ever played the game this season talking about how this is the worst ranked experience they've had. It's really impossible to rank up. Teammates are super cheeks compared to normal, which I know everybody says their teammates are always cheeks, but there's something in the water this season because it's just not right. And I want to look at why that is, right? So the theory is that MMR didn't change from last season to this season. MMR is matchmaking rating. So it's effectively a hidden elo, a hidden rating that you have that the game has given you as a player, and this is how good you are. This is the parameters we're going to use to pair you up with the opponents or your teammates, which to me I've always thought was weird. A lot of games do this. They have a hidden MMR and then they have the elo or the MMR that they show you, right? Which would be, you know, Ultra 1, 1600 points, whatever your elo is that you see in game. Meanwhile, the game uses something entirely different that's hidden. You don't know what it actually is to find you games and match you with your opponents and teammates. And this can cause a discrepancy of you see, you know, a couple hundred elo difference on your team, which is not unusual in Pokemon Unite. And really it happens in a lot of games, right? Like your MMR is hidden, which I've never really been a fan of. And it seems like what they did was they didn't reset it from last season to this season, right? Which means if you have a really good MMR from last season, let's say you got to 2000 elo or whatever, your game has you hidden as your 2000 elo right now, even though the season reset and puts you to Ultra 3 or whatever it resets you to, right? So it's going to give you harder opponents. It's going to make your teammates, it's going to find people with lower MMR to pair you with. And really, this is where the issue arises, right? The game doesn't match you with people of similar MMR. If the game matched you with similar MMR, then keeping your MMR from last season to this one, that's the play. That is absolutely a good decision. That would improve matchmaking greatly, right? Your skill from one season carries on to the next. If the game took the time to match everybody on both teams with a similar MMR. So let's say everybody on your team is 2000 elo, everybody on the other team is 2000 elo. There you go. That's a fair match. Not every match would feel fair because sure, some people would pop off, some people would have a rough game. That's how it would be though. But ideally, players of the same skill are playing with each other. But that's not what's happening at all. What the game does is it takes your hidden MMR, let's say you're really good, and it will instead pair you with somebody who's really bad and try to average it out, which means you have to do everything in a 5-player game. It doesn't really work that way. This makes it really hard to rank up. It makes it really hard to win games, and it makes it really frustrating when you see people who are really bad at the game and now they're suddenly winning more games this season than they ever did before. It's because the MMR is so out of whack right now. And on top of that, ranked is just entirely broken. So I have never really 5-stacked before recently, and this season I have pretty much exclusively 5-stacked because the ranked experience is so horrible otherwise. And it's still not even great in a 5-stack, right? So I say I've always been an avid play the game how you enjoy it. I used to enjoy trios, stuff like that, rather than 5-stacking. Now I find trios are just impossible to win. Meanwhile, 5-stacks are the only way that I enjoy the game. So in the past, sometimes it would be not even unusual to wait 20-30 minutes for a game because we have to reset the queue, right? Which is another issue. If you don't reset the queue, you go to a different region, but that's a different problem. So you used to have to wait sometimes 20-30 minutes for a game, and if you're a 5-stacker and you're a high elo, that's fine. As a 5-stacker nowadays at a high elo, that's totally fine. If you make me wait 20 minutes or 30 minutes for a fair game, that's fine with me, big dog. Like ideally, you would get to a point where it's going to wait until it finds you a fair match. So those wait times wouldn't be a big deal, assuming you're going to get a fair game, but that's really just not how it works, especially not anymore. I've noticed 5-stacking, before the timer pops up that we're queuing, we found a game like that. And oftentimes it's duo trio, it's trios and some solos, it's some solos against a 5-stack of players who are all top 500 in the world, right? Like I've been playing with really good players. And in the past seasons, when you 5-stack, you would normally, generally play other 5-stacks. So if I would get onto, let's say, like a high elo Discord and I see there's 3 groups in there of 5 players and they're all 5-stacking, I know that's who I'm going to be playing, right? Like whether or not they're in a game, whenever I start a queue, the queue won't find me a game. Well, in the past, wouldn't find me a game until their game ended, and now we pair up against each other. That's how it worked. 5-stack used to be a rather fair way of playing the game. You could almost, like I said, you could see who your opponents were going to be based off who was online. If you're at a certain elo, you could kind of figure it out. That's not a thing anymore. I've noticed, you know, I would see like Lutano, Inder, and their stack playing, and then I would see Red Love and his stack playing, and then there's me and my stack playing, and none of us are playing each other. We play for 4 or 5 hours. We don't see a single one of those stacks. Instead, we're all seeing trio duos. We're all seeing players who should really not be in our game. And I say this, it's not their fault, right? It's the matchmaking. The matchmaking has decided above all else, insta-queue. That's all that matters. Insta-queue. Let's find a game. And it's really, really bad. It makes for a super unfair experience. It's really not competitive. It's not very fun. And then I get in the chat, hey, that was a rough game, man. Like, why'd my duo have to play you guys? Well, I'm just as upset about it as you are. Like, it's a problem. It shouldn't be happening, but it is. In this season, it's just incredibly bad. And to prove this, you're gonna look at Unite API, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take an adventure onto Unite API right now. Okay, so here we are, Unite API. Just from looking at the homepage, that's not, something's not right, big dog. This is not right. 3,740 elo already. What, the season reset 2 weeks ago? 3,740. I remember a couple of seasons ago, Gatlu hit 3K. He was like, we hit 3K this season, top 5 at the end of the season. There should not be someone 3,740 this early on in the game. Part of it's Zossi and Comfy, which you see over here, is a big, huge issue. But the main issue from this is matchmaking. The matchmaking is so bad. It's actually free low if you 5-stack, like I was saying earlier. 3,740. How do you get to that elo? We're gonna take a look at it. This to me is the most like definitive proof that matchmaking is extremely broken. Like it always has been, right? But it's the worst it's ever been. And here's why. So we're gonna take a look at this guy's games. Okay, so here we have I Destroy You. This is his Unite API. This is his games. He's 5-stacking, obviously, like I said. And here we have, let's see, he's a tank player, 6 and 13 we have against a trio duo. So I don't think it's fair to pick out one game. So what I did was I looked through a bunch of these. You can always look on Unite API. I'm sure he's going to be rank 1 for, you know, quite some time. You can always look at these kind of things. But I picked out some games that I found that are just really, really bad. And they're not uncommon. It's not uncommon to see something like this. So here we have his stack versus the opposing stack. Here we have a duo trio. That's not terrible, right? Duo trio. Surely maybe they're just high elo. Okay, let's check out this guy. Let's check out this toxic guy. How we looking? Here's his team. 1561. 15. I'm not trying to hate on this player to say they're bad. 1561. Okay, let's see. Who else is on his team? This guy, 1421. These guys both have 53% win rate. That's not terrible. That's not horrible. Let's see. That was the part of the trio. Here's their other trio. 1233. Just barely in Masters. None of these players are sticker players. No, I'm not hating on them. There's nothing wrong with them. But 1233, 1400. And then the last one is 1339. You're telling me this guy's elo is 3700. And the highest opponent that he gets is 1400 in a trio duo. Really? Okay, let's take a look at some of his 5-stack games. All right, maybe that's a one-off. Maybe that's just a one-time thing. Let's look at this next game. Let's look at another game. We have another duo trio here. Okay, we've got the same stack. They dropped 18, 15, 19, 20 kills total, 28 kills total. Almost 20 kills, at least 20 kills and assists on every single player. 3 of them hitting 30 plus. Unbelievable. That was probably a good match. Let's take a look. So we have Goal Getter Delphox. New player, sure. Maybe they're just not quite there. We have Potion Venus. So let's take a look at these guys' elos. Again, I'm not saying this to shame the players who are low elo or who have questionable builds. That's not the point of this at all. The point of this is that if you're bad / you don't quite understand the game, you should not be going against players at 3700 elo. So we're going to just take a look at this trio duo they just played. This is their most recent game on Unite API. So Agam, how are we looking? 1260. Okay, he's got a positive win rate. 1260. Not terrible. Positive win rate, but 1260 just barely Masters. Their duo, Ultra Class 4. Ultra Class 4. This is laughable. It's laughable. Okay, the other one, 1277. The next guy, 1341. The other, 1312. So you're telling me The highest elo in this game on the opposing team is 1341, playing the #1 guy on the leaderboard. The #1 guy. And just see if we might as well, I haven't even looked at his teammates elo. We should take a look at that though next. All right, so maybe they're just stacking with an ultra player. Maybe they have a veteran player in their lobby. They're 5 stacking. Maybe they just swap out a veteran on a smurf every single game, and they're just exploiting the elo that way. Let's take a look at this. You'll notice, by the way, Zacian, which is another problem with this ranked season. That's not even has to do with matchmaking. It's just a problem with ranked. So we're gonna take a look at the rank 1 5 stack that's been on the ladder lately. Okay, 23-23. So they're definitely there. This guy's not the one boosting. He's not boosting. 23 elo, 2300 elo is insane. Like that's top 100. Very cool. What about the next one? 28-17, 2800. Yeah, no, he's not the one that's being in a vet. That's on a vet account. They're not boosting either. Okay, how are we looking? 3500. Certainly not this guy. Nope. Surely this last guy's veteran, right? 2400 elo. The lowest elo player on this 5 stack is 2300. I'm again not blaming the players whatsoever. They're 5 stacking at a high elo. They should be waiting 20-30 minutes for a fair game. And I know what's happening because I've been 5 stacking. They're insta queuing into these duos and these trios with ultra players on their team. And now let's get to the part I said I thought this was a good thing. Why do I think this is a good thing? Because they changed the way matchmaking works. Timmy looked at it. They saw all of the complaints and said, okay, we need to change something. What if we carry the MMR over from previous seasons? Which again, I think is fantastic. They should do that. You should do that. Or full reset. I don't really care. I think overall, it would make for a more fair matchmaking system if you carried it from last season. That said, you have to make sure the MMR is not just an average, but everybody's close in MMR, right? Because let's make it easy. You have 3K and you have 1,000. Right in between, you have 2K. So if you have a 3K player and a 1K player on the same team versus a team of all 2Ks on the same, sure, your average is the same, but the one player with the 1,000 is basically down a player in this game because they just straight up can't hang. So I like the idea. I like that they're changing matchmaking, trying to improve it, but the outcome is quite literally the worst we've ever seen. Let me know how your season's been going. Come back for more videos. This went a lot longer than I expected, but I was trying to hit you with the facts and logic. So hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe and check me out on Twitch. Peace out.